Hi, my name is Sarah Douthit. I'm down here in my modest workout area I'd like to call the dungeon. All right, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about core progression. Before we get started with the two exercises that I'm going to walk you through, I just want to talk a little bit about core in general. Most people, when they think about their core, especially those who aren't involved in like professional circles, we simply think of the abdomen. We do a lot of crunches, a lot of sit-ups, things of that nature, but the core is actually a lot more than just the abdomen. It's made up of a couple of systems, the local system and the global system. Both are what you're designed to provide stability to the spine. Your local system is the musculature that's going to attach itself directly to the vertebrae column, and it is in charge specifically of creating interabdominal pressure in order to create like a pocket or a bubble for that spine to rest and to be secure. Your global system then is the muscles that are attached from the pelvis to the vertebrae column, and that is actually what gives you your torque, your twist, your force, your movement to that spinal area. All right, these two areas are probably one of the most underdeveloped areas in all of sports. It's very important to have a strong core or trunk area because it absorbs all of the ground forces that you would get when you're walking, running, virtually anything that you would do when your lower extremities is making contact with that ground. Having a nice, good, solid core stabilization system is going to keep that force and that magnitude from creeping up and damaging the spine. Okay, the impact, I guess, is what I was looking for. The other important reason for good core musculature is because we tend to work out our lower extremities and we tend to buff up and work out our upper extremities. But if you don't have a good core that's going to help to transition those forces from that lower extremity up into that other upper extremity, you're going to lose out on a lot of that strength during performance. Okay, so very important to work on stability of the core. When you're progressing the core, though, you don't want to move into strength exercises of the core or even power exercises of the core until you have a good, nice, solid, stable foundation. So I'm going to walk you through two exercises that are going to take you through more of a stabilization focus into a strength and then into a power. So to help me out today, I have my son, Ethan. He's going to come on over here. Go ahead and sit right here. Okay, the first exercise that we're going to do for you is it's going to be trunk flexion. All right, the contraction of this trunk flexion, some of what most people would think of as that abdominal area, although we've learned that it's so much more. Okay, hip flexion, trunk flexion, that's what we're going to focus on today. So he's going to do a simple plank. Go ahead and lay down. Just lay down on the ground for me a minute. Okay, keys to a good plank is you want a lot of glute activation. So when he goes up, he wants to squeeze his glutes together as tight as he can and hold his stomach as tight as he can and create a nice firm base. I shouldn't be able to push him around and have him wobble. He should be nice and stiff. We don't want this curvature of the spine, so go ahead and kind of lift up this part of you. All right, we don't keep it down. We don't want to see this. Okay, we need those hips to come up, but we also don't want the opposite, where, go ahead and take your knees up, where you're way up here, because then you're not activating this lower area, this portion of the core, okay? So go ahead and do a nice flat back, straight plank for me. Hold it for 3. 1, 2, 3, and down. Very good. Okay, we're going to do it one more time. Up for 3. 1, 2, 3. Good, and down. Now, typically, you're going to want people to be able to do it for more than 3 seconds. He's a very young guy, so we're going to start him out very small, and we're going to progress. We wouldn't move him past this until he was able to hold this plank on his own for a good 20 to 30, maybe even 40 seconds before we would really want to begin to move on and progress this exercise. But for the sake of the example, we're going to go ahead and for 2 seconds, we're going to let him hold a progression of the plank where we're lifting one leg, okay? So he's going to go up. He's going to lift that leg and hold. Good. Down. Now do the opposite leg. Up and hold. Good. And down. And again, he should be able to do that completely on his own, flexing those glutes for a good 30 seconds before I would want to progress this even farther. So the next one, the final one that we're going to do here for this plank, for this core flexion, all right, is he's going to lift one leg and the opposite arm. So go ahead. Leg and arm. Good. And down. Do the other side. Come on, I'll help you. Do it again. Up. And down. Good. And as you can see, he's not developmentally ready for those stabilization muscles to progress into that farther range of the plank. So again, we would just start very simple at the beginning for him. But now let's pretend that he's got a good core stabilization now for that flexion. We're going to move him into the strength portion of that. So go ahead and get up. All right, sit on this ball. So we're working on this flexion here of the core. So as we progress into a strength exercise, we want something that's going to target that same area. Now instead of doing the isokinetic static motion, okay, now we're going to add a little bit of movement, which is going to give us some strength. Okay, so he's going to do just a simple crunch on the stability ball. Go ahead, do 2 for me. Good, 1 and 2. And the stability ball is really good because it's also going to force those other stabilizing muscles in that spine and in this hip complex to activate and to work together to keep him steady as he does this crunch, unlike you would do it if you were just simply laying on the ground and doing a crunch. So go ahead and give me 2 more. And up. Good. And up. Good. Now, to progress this, as he was getting better, maybe he would be able to do maybe 3 sets of 20 reps or 4 sets of 15. We would have him put his arms straight up in the air. Okay? And he's going to do the same thing. Give me 2. 1. Good. 2. Very good. Okay, so now we've stabilized that core flexion, and now we're strengthening it by adding a little bit of movement through the global system. And the final thing that we would want to do after he has progressed is we're going to want to add power. Now these power exercises are going to help the body or the muscles contract faster, to generate force more quickly. All right, so now instead of just doing a nice, steady gaining strength, now we're going to actually force it to move at a more rapid rate, which is going to give us increases in our power. So to do that, we're going to use a medicine ball. Now I don't have a medicine ball, I have a basketball because he's not ready yet. But typically you would want a medicine ball, maybe 8, 10, 15. I mean, it depends on where you're at and how you're progressing. All right, but we're going to do the very simple thing above your head, okay? But now as he goes back and he comes up, he's going to try to flex his stomach and use those hip flexors here to try to thrust that basketball all the way forward. So go ahead, down and up. Good. We're going to do one more. That was good, buddy. One more. Down and up. Push. Good. Okay. So there you go. So now we have core flexion. Go ahead and stand up for me. You can sit right here. Or go get the ball so we can do that. Now you have core flexion through stabilization, then strength, and then power. All right? And we're dealing with this area right in here. The second exercise that I want to take you through is side planks and the activation of the lateral areas of the trunk. Very important when you're having a core program that you don't just focus on one area. You want to do the anterior, you want to do the posterior, and you also want to do the lateral sides, all right? Whenever you're training, you always want to go through all the planes of motion. So whether it be the twisting, the frontal, or the sagittal, it's very important that we target all the different areas, both agonist and antagonist muscle groups that are going to work together to hold and to make your core stable, all right? So for our last one, we're going to do the lateral area. We're going to do the side plank. So I'm going to have you come back down and do a side plank for me. Lay on the ground facing the camera there, bud. Okay, elbows down. Okay, good. And he's going to come up, hold a side plank. Good, get this arm comes up. There you go. And he's going to hold it. 1, 2, and down. Good. To advance this, he's going to go with his arm straight up, and he's going to go up again. 1, 2, very good, down. And then the one last progression that you can do on a side plank to make it difficult is to put that foot forward, and you're actually only going to use this leg. You don't want to try to use this leg right here, okay? So you're here, arms up. Good, and we're holding. 1, 2, good, and down. Very good, and of course if you do it on this side, you're going to want to do it to the other side, and you're always going to want to start out with the most simple progression. Go ahead and do that first one. Okay, just that first one, up. Good, and down, before you begin to move on and make those a little bit more difficult. Once you've done both sides and you have good stabilization in that lateral area of the core, then we're going to want to move on to the strength. So for the strength, we're going to go back to our ball. I'm going to have him put his back to the camera this time. Okay? And now, as he comes up, he's going to come up to the side with like a little bit of a twist. All right? To target that side lateral area. So go down and up. Good. Down. Up. Good. When you're coming up, you want to take this shoulder and go that way with it. This shoulder and come that way with it. No. Listen. Step. This shoulder goes that way. Okay, so down, up, good, down, up, good. Okay, so that's our strength portion of it. All right, we're still targeting this outside, but now instead of just holding it in that isokinetic stabilization form, now we're putting a little bit of a movement. We're adding that global stabilization system. All right, and we're creating some strength here now in our sides. So once now he's strong in the sides and we've worked on that, anterior, laterally, posterior, okay, we want to begin to develop some power. So the last and final exercise that I'm going to have you do is called a wood chop throw, okay? So again, typically we would have a medicine ball for this, okay, but for the sake of this example here, we're just going to use this basketball. Now, for the medicine throw, actually, let's have you face the camera so we can show them. For the wood chop, okay, he's going to start with the ball on the side of his body, right here. Arms are straight, okay? You want good activation in the glutes. You want a good, nice, tight core, a little bit of a bend in the knee. You don't want to be locked out, okay? So now you've got all this power, this potential energy generated right here. Now, as he throws, he's going to throw it, not yet, okay, as hard as he can, and when he does, he's going to take that and throw it over this shoulder. Keep your arms straight, okay? So you're going to, like, chop it. So you're going to go boom, and throw it that way, okay? And boom, as hard as you can. Good. Then we're going to go to the other side. Stand up straight. And you're going to chop. Good, down. And throw. Good, down. One more. Good. Okay? Very good. So normally I would have him with his medicine ball, and he would be doing those motions where he's throwing it above. Let me adjust this here. Sorry. Okay. So again, go ahead with your movement. Good. And he would be throwing. Other side. Good. One more. Good. Now, very important that he's going across his body. So he's starting on this side of his body. Everything is flexed. And as he comes up, he's going to this side. This is working, again, this lateral area. Why don't you go ahead and start right here. Right there. Give me one good toss. Toss it. Very good. Okay? So now we've taken that lateral side and we've progressed it from the stabilizing plank into the more active strengthening of the crunch with the twist, okay? And then we've moved into the power wood chop where now we're going to want to take that ball and throw it. All working those same core musculatures, okay? Thank you. Now there's lots of different core progressions that you can do and lots of different exercises. Clearly, we've only just touched the surface of it, all right? But it's just very important to understand that you need a good, strong core in order to absorb those ground forces from running and walking and jumping, as well as also being able to transfer power from the lower extremities into the upper extremities. The core is one of the least developed, most fundamental of all the musculature in the human body. Very important. And final thought, make sure that when you're progressing, that you're very strong in your stabilization progressions before you begin to move into your strength progressions. And then finally, you wanted that final phase is those power progressions. Please don't do it out of line. You could really risk the possibility of hurting that spine. Thank you.